So obviously, this is the second time you've worked with Brady. I'm just wondering, from the outside, it feels like we're dealing with a really creative and original new voice, someone that's really exciting kind of talent. What's it like from the inside? Do you get a sense that you're working with someone who's got some great ideas and a really great future ahead?
Absolutely. I mean, from the very beginning, from when I met him, I read Childhood of a Leader, which is his first feature film. And I remember reading it and writing down all these things I wanted to tell him for him to give me the job. And I was very nervous, and I thought, you know, if I'm going to fight for a role, it's going to be this one. And we went on Skype, and he just spoke for about half an hour about what he wanted to do. And it was so inspiring that I just couldn't even place what I wanted to say. And by the end of the conversation, we sort of agreed that we would work together. And he's like that. He's a very passionate guy who loves films, but who loves also art, and you feel that in his films and his scripts. They're always, if it's a photography or if it's a painting, he'll always really take everything on board and kind of send you references and music, and I really enjoy that. Not a lot of people have such a dense vision from the start.
Yeah, because I mean, you both seem, both of your career choices are so sort of fascinating. You both seem really sort of compelled to work with really intriguing, very creative filmmakers. I just want, is that what comes first when it comes to picking a script and picking a role? What's the first thing that draws you into a project? Is it the person that you meet and the person that's sort of written and directing the show, for example?
I feel like for me it depends. I mean, obviously, like, that's the most important part, but what you see first is the script. You read the script first, and then if it's an interesting script, you know, it's going to be an interesting director. Yeah, and then they play a huge part, because it's, I don't know, I think it all depends massively on the performance that you will get from an actor, depending on the director. You know, if you're comfortable with them. Which was actually a you know, really important thing with Brady, is that you felt really comfortable with him. So, you know, you could, well, hopefully he could get whatever he wanted from you.
Because obviously you're playing two roles in this one, Raffey. Was that always the idea right from the offset? When you went in and you were auditioning, was it always going to be the two roles, or did you audition for one and then through conversations with Brady you decided that it'd be a good idea to play both?
Well, I read a bit of the script first, and it was only on the first character. And then, so I didn't know that there was two characters at that point, and then I spoke to Brady, and he told me about these two characters. And he wanted it to be as if it was this kind of weird thing, as the audience is going, wait, is that the same person? So I think Brady set out to have the same person playing it. But then there was like maybe going to be an issue with, I don't know, visas or whatever, which I was really upset about, because I really wanted to play both characters, and then in the end it worked out that I could play two.
Yeah, because it took me about 3 or 4 minutes to work out what was going on.
Did it?
Yeah.
It took me 2 or 3 minutes when she arrived. It was such a shock.
And what was it like playing two roles? I mean, obviously, what are the challenges that come with that? Because the differences between the two roles are quite very subtle. I mean, at the same time, I'm sure for you they're quite sort of striking, but for the audience it can be quite subtle when obviously the same actress appears with very little kind of explanation. Yeah. We sort of search for the nuances, and I was just wondering about the challenges in doing that and whether it was shot chronologically as well.
Yeah, that was one of the helpful things. It was shot chronologically, so we almost treated it as if it was 2 separate stories. So Celeste is one story, and then I come back as Albertine, seeing this whole different story through a different person's eyes. So yeah, it was kind of not saying thinking, but it sounds a lot more difficult than it actually was, because I just treated it as if it was 2 different films. And then obviously the obvious things like the accent and the appearance. They were fun things that we got to play with. Yeah, and then, but also one of the interesting things was coming back as Albertine and seeing someone else play Celeste. Yeah. That was a really interesting thing to watch, especially it being Natalie.
Stacey, what was it like playing a teenager? I mean, how do you go back and connect to that age again in your head when you're sort of preparing for a role like that?
Oh, I think we're all endless teenagers, really. It's about just, I mean, I'm a kid inside, and I love the openness that a teenager can have, and sort of that playfulness of life and not knowing what's going to be what. And I think ultimately the difference in Eleanor is that openness, is that you find her where she wants to explore the world and live with her sister, and they're going to go on this big adventure. And then when you find her much later on, she's a lot more closed, and she sort of really goes behind the curtain a lot more and sort of is there, but without really having that spark.
Yeah, because I was wondering, because a lot of your character's journey kind of happens off screen in many ways. It's kind of in between that break between the two sort of stories. Do you fill in the gaps? Do you like to kind of build a kind of comprehensive story of what your character's been through? Or do you prefer just sort of going on what's on the page and what's in the script?
A bit of both. I don't tend to write a whole story or novel about my characters. But what I really loved about this specific role is that actually a lot of the information you get from Celeste when she's older. So when Natalie arrived, you understand all of the years that you haven't really seen in the film. You understand immediately because of how she is and what Celeste talks about and her relationship to her daughter. And actually, you understand, even though you might not know the specifics, but you understand humanly what they've gone through, and you understand what position they're all in. So there's the manager, there's the sister, there's the daughter, and they're all in this very specific system for them to be able to function.
And obviously the film is centred around the music industry. I was wondering if either of you are musically gifted with any instrument? Or...
No. I wish.
Yeah, I've tried. I've definitely had a go. It's not worked out for me though.
So what's the one? Because I've always said the things I most want to learn. I would love to learn the piano. I'm desperate to learn the piano. I want to learn French. They're my two things. What are the things that you're yet to have learned that you'd most like to try and complete one day?
Italian. I speak French, and I thought, oh, Italian, I can learn that really easily. And I downloaded Duolingo, and it was a disaster. I was terrible at it. So that's my mission.
They keep that little bird really pesters you as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. All the notifications, and you're quite stressful after a while.
Was it quite fun, obviously, playing kind of sisters? 'Cause I guess there's a sort of different sort of chemistry, isn't there, required for siblings? There's a kind of unspoken bond that is quite hard to create. I was just wondering about how you guys went about achieving it, because it's brilliant on screen.
You have siblings, don't you?
I have siblings, yeah.
Because I don't have siblings, so it's something quite interesting for me to delve in of what is the one relationship that can never change, even though you hate each other or you love each other. I find that really fascinating, because with parents, you obviously, as a child, you have a sense of, there's a point where you gain independence and you move out and you do your life. But a sibling, I find it so fascinating, because they're always going to be your brother or your sister, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe we just got on, which was definitely helped. Yeah.
And Brady is really clever in how he casts people. I think he looks for certain sensibilities and certain sensibilities in people. That means that when we met, we just got on, and I think we texted a little bit before we started shooting, and then it was just something that happened quite naturally.
And Raffey, I was wondering, so I was just wondering if you could draw a parallel, because obviously this is a completely different industry, and I think there is more scrutiny and attention on pop stars than there are sometimes on actors. But you still were in the public eye at sort of a young age. You still sort of took on a role in a profession that meant that you were on screen, and you were kind of that lends itself to being recognised in the streets and stuff like that. I was wondering if, even though the characters are very different, if you could draw some parallels to yourself in the role, just from your own kind of journey and becoming an actress in this industry.
God, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I have any, but like I've said this a lot, but like it's a completely different thing being a pop star, because you have your own, you're in the public eye, whereas if you're an actor, you've got, you just play characters. You don't, people never really see you. But I think I've maybe the things that Celeste didn't have. I have like a good family and stuff. No offence to Eleanor. But,
excuse me.
Yeah. But yeah, and like people always watching out for you, which maybe is what Celeste was kind of missing. She had the people there, but she kind of lost her innocence at a young age.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your time today, guys. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey